Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and today we're going to see what it's like to date a feminist. Ah, shit. Whose idea was this? Have you ever wondered why feminists are always so angry? My own theory has always been that they desperately need to get laid. I attribute this to men being repulsed by hairy armpits, blue hair, and the stink. But it turns out some guys can overlook that stuff and are still willing to date these beasts. And that's where the real problem begins. 10 things every intersectional feminist should ask on a first date. This article comes to us from Everyday Feminism, and it's a reprint from Wear Your Voice. And it's guaranteed to make your dick want to kill itself. Now I know why male feminists snap. As we go through this, keep in mind this is a first date. When normal people are keeping it light and getting to know one another, this is what feminists do.
As a queer femme of color, I keep close relationships with people who go beyond allyship. They're true accomplices in the fight against white supremacy, queerphobia, and misogyny. If you're not going to support marginalized folks, then we can't be friends, let alone date. The personal is political.
It's been proven that 99% of the time when somebody starts with as a bunch of bullshit is about to follow. That's just science. Being queer, femme, or colored, a person of color, has jack shit to do with your reasoning or logic. If the only support you have for your political opinion is that you're black, gay, or cripple, you're just full of shit. What you're telling me is you put no real thought into what you're saying. You might as well tell me you believe it because you have blue eyes or because you love the Twilight gay vampire series. We're going to skip the rest of her intro, but to summarize, she won't even be friends with, and certainly not fuck, anyone who doesn't agree with her on these 10 questions. Number 1.
Do you believe that Black Lives Matter? Yes, wonderful. Let's start here. There are 3 categories that are non-negotiable for me. An understanding of race, class, and gender. Not everyone understands how these 3 can be insidious, systematic, and intertwined. But anyone who doesn't take the time to learn how systematic racism works isn't going to care how racism affects me or people who are darker skinned than I am. I don't want to have laborious discussions where I have to prove to someone that white privilege or non-black privilege exists. If they are willing to learn and listen and make a space to decenter their whiteness, if they are white, that's a good place to start.
Decenter your whiteness, honky? Because she's made color the center of her universe, to the point it's the first thing she brings up on a date. White people need to make their whiteness less important. I guess it's good that she's willing to date white people, but the kind of white guy who would hear this shit and agree doesn't have a working set of balls anyway. Which, let's be honest, is also a good thing. Number 2.
What are your thoughts on gender and sexual orientation?
It's a trap!
If this comes up on a first date, under the table your dick is pointed at his. Number 3.
How do you work to dismantle sexism and misogyny in your life?
By smashing puss.
I've met cisgendered, heteronormative, cishet men who hate women.
Maybe stop hanging out with male feminists?
They say they love women, but that love is conditional on not having their toxic masculinity questioned or threatened in any way.
Ah, yes. Toxic masculinity. The idea that being a man is bad unless you act like a woman. Can't think of a better first date topic. Guys, if you really want to make her wet, just tell her how much you hate your dick. Don't worry, at this point, if you're still on a date with this chick, your dick hates you back.
And they love us as a monolith. They love what women have to offer, whether it's sex, food, love, care, emotional labor. They love us for what we can do for them, not because of who we are for ourselves. It is crucial for cishet men to learn how to decenter their male privilege in order for them to understand the multitudes of interpretations of femininity and womanhood. Beyond Misogyny 101, does the person you are with understand rape culture, systematic sexism, and misogynoir? Are they willing to learn if they don't?
Are they willing to learn? What could be more fun on a first date than a vapid twat sitting you down to watch a PowerPoint presentation on misogyny and rape? Forget the hors d'oeuvres. We're going to feast on Mattress Girl and Rolling Stone. Sexy. Number 4.
What are your thoughts on sex work?
Okay, so far you've hit him with Black Lives Matter, let him know you probably have a penis, and told him how much he sucks for being a man. Do you think this is really a good time to remind him that hookers exist? It's nice of you to offer him a way out other than suicide, but if you're looking for a potential mate, should you be putting it in his head that he could just pay for a blowjob and not have to put up with all your shit? Number 5.
Are you a supporter of the BDS movement? BDS stands for Boycott, Divest, Sanctions, an effort to end international support for Israel's oppression of Palestinians. I grew up with Jewish, Israeli, and non-Israeli friends and Palestinian friends. Before even understanding how power and oppression work together, we understood the trivial hatred that colonized and put in constant danger the lives of Palestinians every single day.
Holy shit, an actual feminazi. Sorry, I know you guys hate that term. I'll rephrase. Holy shit, a woman who hates Jews as much as she hates herself. Number 6.
What is your understanding of settler colonialism and indigenous rights? I didn't grow up in the United States. I was raised in Switzerland, so my understanding of how Europeans committed genocide against indigenous populations here in the US was fairly limited. It required a good deal of my own research to really understand how settler colonialism works and how devastating the erasure and violence against Native Americans is and was. Your date thinks Native Americans are tropes or relics of the past? No thanks.
I'm not even dating this broad and my dick hates me for this. Anyone else noticing the trend? In the last one, Jews were bad for fighting back against terrorists. Palestinians. This is land that is historically Jewish. It belonged to the Jews. But being native doesn't matter when it comes to them. It only matters when the natives have darker skin tones. Despite the feminazi joke, I don't think she's actually anti-Jew. She's clearly anti-white. Which is weird because this list makes it sound like she's only dating white guys. Number 7.
Do you think capitalism is exploitative? Anti-capitalism, especially here in the US, is imperative if you have an understanding of systematic racism, the prison industrial complex, the 13th Amendment, and exploitation.
I hope you didn't fill up on bullshit. It's time for word salad.
Capitalism, for one, teaches us that we are only valuable if we produce capital. That means that if you aren't contributing to the system with your labor, your life means almost nothing. If your date says they're anti-fascist and part of the resistance, but they're cool with exploiting labor from communities of color and they support the school-to-prison pipeline, then there's a good chance they'll only value you for your ability to nurture them without reciprocation.
For a dirty commie, she sure doesn't seem to understand how communism works. It's not about equal reciprocation. It's about doing as much as you can. For instance, if you can give a blowjob every day, you should be doing that for the greater good of your relationship, even if he can only bring himself to hold his nose long enough to munch on your unwashed muff once a year. Stop being so selfish. Number 8.
Can any human be illegal? We live on a tiny planet with land and water within a galaxy surrounded by a universe with an inconceivable number of other galaxies and planets. Yet here we dictate where we are and who is allowed to be where we are. It's mind-boggling that borders are even a thing. So to call people aliens or illegal immigrants is so inhumane and despicable. White Americans stole this land, colonized this land, and created so many borders, pushed out, killed, and enslaved people of color, and somehow have the audacity to claim that this land is theirs, and that black and brown immigrants are stealing their jobs, land, and homes. Miss me with that bullshit.
Do you lock your door? I bet you do. And I bet you don't get the relevance. I bet you'd call the cops if somebody you didn't know decided to move into your house. I dare say you'd even accuse them of being in your home illegally. Calling someone an illegal alien is not dehumanizing them. It's linking them to the crime they're committing. Being here illegally makes you an illegal. Number 9.
Do you support Muslim Americans and non-Muslim people from Islamic countries? I can't think of any other religion which has been vilified and lied about more than Islam in a cultural and systematic way. I am not Muslim, so I will stay in my lane, but I cannot imagine for even a second claiming to be a feminist if I didn't stand in solidarity with my Muslim friends and family, especially now, especially after 9/11.
I can imagine being a feminist and standing up for a religion that systematically oppresses women. For people who bitch about patriarchy so much, feminists sure don't seem to give much of a fuck when they're talking about Islam. You know, where patriarchy really exists. Number 10.
Does your allyship include disabled folks?
Do you fuck cripples? Don't worry, I'm a cripple. I can say that word. It's our nigger. We can say it. But you gotta use the soft A. Crippla.
As an able-bodied woman, again, I will stay in my lane, but intersectionality has to include a solid platform for disabled people, and not just the visible disabilities. If you have disabled family or friends, please make the effort to listen and learn about their lives and their experiences. Disabled folks are subject to shaming and violence because humans are awful and lack empathy. Be mindful of others who mock disabled people. That kind of cruelty is inexcusable. On a date with somebody who uses ableist slurs, walk away.
Walk away? Did you say walk away? You ableist cunt. Some of us can't just walk away. Granted, if I were on a first date with you and we made it all the way up to number 10 here, I'd do my best to run if for no other reason than chase down my dick, which had the good sense to bail earlier when whores were brought up. Reading this, you really have to feel sorry for cats. They have to live with these insufferable cunts. If you'd like to see more on this topic, Weebo Jones joined Scribe Light and I on my channel for a live stream the other day where we discussed it. I'll put that link in the description along with links to both of their channels. You should check it out, we had a good time. Anyway guys, that's going to wrap up this one. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Share it with all your friends. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. I'm the Ranting Monkey, and I'll see you next time.
Capitalism, for one, teaches us that we are only valuable if we produce capital. That means that if you aren't contributing to the system with your labor, your life means almost nothing. If your date says they're anti-fascist and part of the resistance, but they're cool with exploiting labor from communities of color and they support the school-to-prison pipeline, then there's a good chance they'll only value you for your ability to nurture them without reciprocation.
Your life makes me sad.